The fractional CMO is like pretty commonly known, but how much of a need is that right now since the economy kind of took a turn?
I would suggest that anybody over sort of 2 to 3 million a year in revenue would really benefit from a fractional CFO. You can find services that are affordable at that size. You would pay less than like an average sort of full-time, low-level staff member. You'd get someone who was quite experienced, who knows what they're doing, and they will help you with a lot of stuff. There's a lot of people that aren't finance people, and that's okay because we need the creatives to run the world, and we just got to help everybody stay on the rails, I guess, right? So yeah, I would say, look, I really recommend it because even when it comes to communicating with an agency, so you own an agency, so you've probably seen this. You go, hey, what do you want to do with your year? And they may not be able to answer that question as effectively as you would like, so that you really know where you can work. Well, we can help bridge the gap there. So these are the guardrails for you, and this is what we want to see, and here's these metrics and that metrics. And so then you're empowered as an agency owner to serve them even better as well. And then they know that their agency is sort of on track and on budget. And so then everybody's happier, I feel, when there's some financial kind of stuff in place.
E-commerce, specifically D2C e-commerce, is very much a game of numbers, right? If you don't know your numbers, you're going to get burned. And we're seeing a lot of that happening, unfortunately, in the industry with some of these closures and bankruptcies. But had they had, proper forecasting and really known their like marketing efficiency and what they could afford to spend and all that, like there's a good chance that may have been avoided.
Are you familiar with the concept of contribution margin?
Yes.
Yeah. So I did a couple reviews lately of some brands that came to me sort of asking just for like a quick review. And what I noticed was their contribution margin was negative. And so what that means is that every dollar they sell, they lose more money. And so they didn't know until I talked to them. And of course, that you see the eyes open wide and they're like, well, what do I do? And well, there are things you can do, but that's why even if you just get just pay for an audit from a CFO or whatever, and then you get some information you can use. So I would say something's needed. Yeah.
Yeah. At least kind of where you sit and if you need to kind of change course. But yeah, like brands out there that aren't really paying attention to contribution margin, like the more you sell, the more you're like actually heading down a bad path and you might not actually make it. So like maybe pull back on some of the things that you're spending on.
Yeah. And so they ask, what's the break even revenue? And I'm like, well, there is none, because literally the next dollar you sell, you're going to lose 10 cents. So there's no possible break even. And like I say, there's things you can do. And I'll also say that what I've seen this past maybe even 6 months is that a lot of agencies are getting more sophisticated as well, because you've probably seen this, they've realized that with the financial discipline, like you actually get more room to play, not less. And so like the fact that contribution margin says a lot about you, and someone should feel good about working with you because you know what that means. And so when you look for agencies, look for people that understand contribution margin and budgeting and all that.
Knowing your numbers and knowing how profitable you are, even down to like daily, is huge.
Totally. Yeah.
And if your agency is not paying attention to the numbers and like sharing that transparency with your P&L, you gotta find a new agency. I'm sorry, like back in the Wild West days of post-pandemic, everything was great, right? You didn't need to pay attention to profitability that much because there was always tomorrow or you're going to sell more. But things have quickly changed, and it's more important than ever to make sure that you're partnering with people that actually care about profitable growth.